In the heart of Lamora, a lively town filled with traders, farmers, and artisans, there was a hair salon unlike any other. It was owned by a woman named Yola. Yola was known far and wide for her incredible speed in braiding hair. No matter how complicated a hairstyle was, she could complete it in just an hour. Other salons in Lamora would take an entire day, sometimes two, to finish certain styles. But with Yola, customers walked in and out looking flawless in record time. Word spread fast, and soon, people from neighboring towns traveled just to have their hair braided by her skilled hands. Yola's salon was always full. Women sat in chairs, chatting about market prices, family matters, and town gossip while they waited for their turn. Young girls watched in amazement as Yola's fingers danced through thick strands of hair, weaving intricate patterns faster than anyone had ever seen. But for all her talent, there was something unusual about Yola's salon. A rule that no one dared to break. No mirrors were allowed. Not just mirrors, but anything that could show a reflection: glass, polished metal, even a phone screen. If Yola caught sight of any reflective surface, she would react sharply. Customers who entered had to leave their bags at the door, and her assistant, a young woman named Sira, would check for any hidden mirrors or shiny objects before letting them inside. It was an odd rule, but people obeyed. After all, Yola's work was worth the inconvenience. No one wanted to miss the chance to have their hair done in such a short time and with such perfection. However, whispers filled the streets of Lamora. Why doesn't she allow mirrors? What is she hiding? I heard if you bring a mirror inside, something terrible will happen. But despite the rumors, no one questioned Yola directly. As long as she continued to braid hair with speed and precision, customers were willing to ignore the mystery. Adu's visit. One sunny afternoon, a young woman named Adu arrived at Yola's salon for the first time. She had recently moved to Lamora and had heard countless stories about Yola's magic hands. Excited, she walked through the salon doors, greeted by the sight of women chatting and waiting for their turn. Sira, the assistant, approached her with a warm smile. "Welcome to Yola's salon. Please leave your bag at the entrance, and we will check for mirrors." Adu frowned slightly. "Mirrors?" "Yes," Sira replied. "No mirrors or anything with a reflection are allowed inside." Adu shrugged. "That's strange, but okay." She handed over her bag, and after a quick check, she was allowed in. What neither Sira nor Yola noticed, however, was that Adu had a small compact mirror tucked inside her pocket. She sat down in the chair, waiting for her turn. When Yola finally stood behind her, fingers ready to weave through her hair, Adu reached into her pocket, pulled out the mirror, and held it up to show the style she wanted. "Can you braid it like this?" The moment the mirror caught the light, reflecting Yola's hands, something terrifying happened. Yola let out a scream, a sound so sharp that every conversation in the salon stopped. Her eyes widened in horror, her entire body trembling. The room fell silent. The other customers turned to stare, their faces frozen in shock. "How dare you?" Yola's voice was sharp, laced with fear. "Who asked you to bring that here?" Adu, startled, quickly hid the mirror. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." Yola was breathing heavily, her hands clenched into fists. For a moment, it looked like she was about to collapse. The fear in her eyes was not just anger, it was something deeper, something that sent shivers down the spines of everyone in the room. "Get rid of it. Now." Without hesitation, Adu ran outside and threw the mirror onto the street. She returned, her heart pounding. She had never seen someone so terrified of a simple reflection. "I didn't mean to upset you," she whispered. Yola exhaled sharply, trying to calm herself. Then, as if nothing had happened, she placed her hands on Adu's head and began braiding. Within minutes, the salon was filled with the sound of hands moving swiftly through hair, and conversations resumed, though the atmosphere remained tense. Adu sat still, her mind racing with questions. What had just happened? Why had Yola reacted like that? But she dared not ask. She had heard about Yola's rule, and now, she had seen firsthand how serious it was. When Adu's hair was done, she admired the work in a small, non-reflective handheld board Sira provided. It was perfect. Beautiful. Just as the rumors had promised. Yet, as Adu walked home, she couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that something was very, very wrong with Yola's salon. The town's whispers. By the next morning, news of Yola's reaction had spread through Lamora like wildfire. The market women whispered about it as they sold their goods. I heard she screamed like she saw a ghost. What is she hiding? It's unnatural to braid hair that fast. Maybe there's something else at work. A few women hesitated before going to Yola's salon that day, but eventually, the promise of fast and perfect hair won over their fear. As long as they obeyed the rule, everything would be fine. Or so they thought. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of Lamora, another woman listened to the rumors with growing curiosity. Unlike the others, she wasn't content with whispers and speculation. Her name was Zina, and she was determined to uncover the truth. The sun hung low over Lamora as the town buzzed with its usual life. The markets were alive with chatter, the smell of roasted plantains filled the air, and merchants called out their best deals. But amidst all this, one name continued to linger in hushed whispers: Yola. Yola's salon had long been a place of fascination, not just for her unmatched speed in braiding hair, but for the one rule no one dared to break: no mirrors. People obeyed without question, satisfied with the fast and flawless hairstyles she provided. But one person wasn't willing to let the mystery rest. Her name was Zina. Zina had always been the curious type. She had spent her life uncovering the truth behind strange happenings. So when she heard about the no-mirror rule at Yola's salon, she couldn't ignore it. She had to find out why. That afternoon, Zina made her way toward Yola's salon, her sandals kicking up dust as she walked. She had no intention of breaking the rule. Not yet. First, she needed to observe, to listen, and to understand what was happening behind those walls. When she arrived, the salon was full, as expected. Women sat on wooden stools, chatting excitedly as Yola moved from one customer to the next, her fingers flying through the thick strands of hair. Her hands were impossibly fast, too fast. The way she braided, it was almost as if there were two pairs of hands working at once. Zina narrowed her eyes. Something wasn't right. She took a seat near the entrance, pretending to be just another waiting customer. From where she sat, she could see everything: Yola's movements, the expressions on her customers' faces, and most importantly, the strange unease that hung in the air. It wasn't just the absence of mirrors that was strange, it was the silence. Despite the women laughing and chatting, there was an unspoken rule in the salon. No one questioned Yola. No one spoke about the missing mirrors. No one even joked about it. It was as if they all knew something but refused to say it out loud. Zina watched closely as Yola moved on to her next customer, a young girl with thick, curly hair. Yola smiled, her fingers working through the strands, but something flickered across her face, something quick, something almost fearful. Zina leaned forward slightly, her heart pounding. She had spent her whole life studying people, and she knew one thing for certain: Yola was hiding something. Then, as if sensing she was being watched, Yola's eyes darted up. For a split second, they locked onto Zina's, and in that brief moment, Zina saw something she hadn't expected. Panic. Yola quickly looked away, focusing back on the girl's hair, her fingers moving even faster than before. Zina's mind raced. Why would Yola, the most respected hairdresser in town, be afraid of a simple glance? What was she hiding? Determined to find out, Zina stood and made her way to the front. She cleared her throat, pretending to speak casually. "Excuse me, Yola, do you have any magazines or pictures of styles I can look at?" Yola barely glanced at her. "No, just tell me what you want." Zina tilted her head. "But how will I see if I like it without a mirror?" The entire salon fell silent. The air grew thick with tension. The other women stiffened, their gazes darting between Zina and Yola. It was as if she had uttered a forbidden word. Yola's hands froze mid-braid. Her breathing grew shallow. Slowly, she turned to face Zina, her jaw tight, her eyes sharp. "We don't use mirrors here." The way she said it, cold, final, almost threatening, sent a chill down Zina's spine. But instead of fear, curiosity burned even stronger inside her. She nodded, pretending to back down. "All right, no problem." She returned to her seat, but she had already made up her mind. She needed to find the truth. That night, Zina couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, the image of Yola's panicked eyes haunting her. She knew she couldn't let this go. If she wanted answers, she needed to go deeper. The next morning, she left Lamora and traveled to the neighboring village of Motu, where an elderly woman named Nana lived. Nana was known for her wisdom and knowledge of old secrets. When Zina arrived, Nana was sitting outside her hut, grinding herbs with slow, steady movements. She looked up as Zina approached. "You have questions," she said before Zina could even speak. Zina hesitated, then nodded. "It's about Yola." Nana's expression darkened. She set down the grinding stone and gestured for Zina to sit. "Tell me what you know." Zina explained everything, the no mirror rule, the whispers in town, the way Yola reacted to her question. Nana listened carefully, her face unreadable. When Zina finished, Nana let out a heavy sigh. "You were right to come here," she said. "Because Yola's secret is not just strange, it is dangerous." Zina leaned in closer. "What do you mean?" Nana fixed her with a steady gaze. "Yola is not braiding hair alone." A chill ran down Zina's spine. "What do you mean?" Nana took a deep breath. Many years ago, Yola's mother made a deal with the spirit. She wanted her daughter to be the best hairdresser in all the land, to have skill beyond human capability. And so, she offered something in return. Zina swallowed hard. What did she offer? Nana's voice dropped to a whisper. "She gave Yola to the spirit." Zina's breath caught in her throat. "The spirit works through Yola," Nana continued. "It is the reason she can braid so fast, the reason her hands seem to move quicker than they should. But there is a price. Yola does not control the spirit, it controls her." Zina sat frozen, the weight of the revelation settling over her. "And the mirrors?" she asked softly. Nana's eyes darkened. "If Yola sees her own reflection while she is braiding, she will see the truth. She will see the spirit working through her. And if that happens..." She paused, her gaze heavy. "She will die." The word sent a shiver down Zina's spine. For the first time, she understood why Yola was so afraid. She wasn't protecting herself from others. She was protecting herself from the truth. And now, Zina had a decision to make. Would she walk away, knowing the terrifying truth? Or would she try to free Yola from the spirit that held her captive? Zina sat frozen, Nana's words echoing in her mind. Yola had been living under the control of a spirit, bound to an agreement made long before she could even understand it. If she ever saw her reflection while braiding hair, she would die. A part of Zina wanted to walk away. This was bigger than just a mystery, this was supernatural. But another part of her, the part that had always fought for the truth, refused to let Yola continue living as a prisoner. "What can we do?" Zina asked, her voice firm. Nana studied her for a long time before sighing. "The spirit must be trapped and cast out. But this will not be easy." "I'm ready," Zina said. "Tell me what to do." Nana led Zina into her hut and pulled out a small, circular mirror covered with strange symbols. "This is a sacred mirror," Nana explained. "It is the only thing strong enough to trap the spirit. But Yola must look into it while she is braiding." Zina's heart pounded. If Yola saw any reflection, she would die. How could she convince her to do it? Nana placed a reassuring hand on Zina's shoulder. "You must make her trust you." With the mirror carefully wrapped in cloth, Zina returned to Lamora. The town was the same, yet everything felt different. She could see the fear behind people's eyes, the way they walked past Yola's salon quickly, as if afraid to linger. As soon as Zina stepped inside, Yola's eyes met hers. There was no panic this time, just exhaustion. It was as if she knew Zina had learned the truth. "We need to talk," Zina said firmly. Yola hesitated, then nodded. "Not here." She led Zina to a small backroom behind the salon, where they were alone. "You know, don't you?" Yola whispered. Zina nodded. "Yes. And I want to help you." Tears welled up in Yola's eyes. "There is no way out. If I see myself, I die." "There is a way," Zina said, unwrapping the sacred mirror. "This can trap the spirit." Yola recoiled, shaking her head. "No. If I look into it, I will die." "You have to trust me," Zina pleaded. "This mirror is different. It won't harm you, but it will reveal the spirit. Once we see it, we can trap it." Yola stared at Zina, doubt flickering in her eyes. Then, slowly, she exhaled. "All right. I will do it." The next morning, Zina returned to the salon with Nana, who remained outside, watching through a crack in the wooden walls. The customers carried on as usual, unaware of what was about to happen. Yola's hands trembled as she picked up the comb. She was about to braid Zena's hair when Zena placed the sacred mirror on her lap, angled so Yola would see it as she worked. The moment Yola's reflection appeared, the air in the salon grew heavy. A dark, twisting shadow erupted from her hands, screeching like a wounded animal. Customers screamed and ran, but Zena stayed still, her heart hammering in her chest. The spirit wailed, its form becoming clearer, a monstrous shape with long, curling fingers wrapped around Yola's hands. Yola gasped, frozen in place, staring at the spirit through the mirror. Nana burst into the salon, chanting in a low, commanding voice. "Begone, spirit of bondage. Your time is over." The mirror glowed brighter, pulling the spirit towards it. The entity shrieked, clawing at the air, resisting with all its might. Yola groaned, as if something was being torn from within her. With a final, ear-splitting scream, the spirit was sucked into the mirror. The salon fell into silence. Yola collapsed, breathing heavily, her hands trembling. "It's gone," she whispered. "I can feel it, it's gone." Days passed, and word spread quickly. The no-mirror rule was lifted, and customers returned, not for Yola's supernatural speed, but for her real talent. For the first time in her life, Yola was free. She hugged Zena tightly. "You saved me." Zena smiled. "You saved yourself. I just helped." As Lamora rejoiced in Yola's freedom, Zena knew this story would be told for generations. But one question remained. If you discovered that someone you knew was under a supernatural curse, would you risk everything to free them? Or would you walk away, knowing the danger that lay ahead? Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, like and drop a comment. See you in our next video.